Hello artists, we've reached day 88 of the epic journey. I'm DaleneFM and today we're going to start talking about how to use light to emphasize your central focal point. There's a couple of different ways, and the first one that we're going to address is a technique the old masters would use called Chiaroscuro or Chiaroscuro, however you choose to pronounce it. Now, Chiaroscuro, like I said, is a technique that the old masters used to use, and it is the art of shining really strong light onto your central focal point and putting everything else in the painting into relative darkness. By shining such a strong light on your central focal point, you're really drawing attention to that one piece of your painting, and everything else in your painting becomes peripheral vision and context, so that your central focal point makes sense because it's in some sort of context, but the context is darker, knocked back into the background so that it becomes less obvious, that the elements are less eye-catching, therefore your focus of attention is on the central focal point, which is now really in strong highlight. So I'm going to move over to the computer. We're going to have a look at a couple of examples of how the old masters used to use Chiaroscuro. Once we've discussed Chiaroscuro, we'll move on to an actual Chiaroscuro painting where we'll put this theory into practice. We will then move on to some of the more modern ways that artists use light to emphasize their central focal point. But for now, let's talk about Chiaroscuro. So let's move over to the computer and have a look at some examples. The word chiaroscuro is actually a combination, an Italian word meaning light, chiaro, and scuro meaning dark, put together to form the word chiaroscuro, literally meaning light dark. Now, if you're looking at the image in front of you and you're starting to think, but this looks a little bit like low-key photography, then you'd be spot on. Basically, that's what it is. It's low-key with very extreme contrast, so very dark darks and very light lights. Now, the interesting thing about the old masters is that they didn't have photography. When we start looking at works of artists like Rembrandt van Rijn, it becomes really amazing to see what these guys did without photography. How, if you have a look at his self-portraits, he did a lot of self-portraits, how you can see the side of his face there's in such strong highlight, and you can almost not see the features of the opposite side of the face and up in the hair and on the background. Rembrandt was a Dutch artist operating in the sort of late 1500s, early 1600s, and part of the Dutch Golden Era, and it was very well known for having played with this effect in light. There were a lot of artists operating at the same time using very similar techniques, so it seems to have been something that artists kind of evolved at the same time. Another artist well known for using this particular technique is Caravaggio. He was an Italian artist, also operating in the late 1500s, early 1600s. He also brought in a lot of strong colors, and notice how really strong his contrasts are. So by looking at these few examples, it becomes really obvious to us that effectively what we're looking at is low-key, what we would refer to as low-key, either painting or photography or lighting. What characterizes it is the very strong highlights, the very dark lowlights, very little values in between, using extreme lights and extreme darks to describe the volume of an object in space, and it is characterized by really strong contrast. So artists, there you have it. That was Chiaroscuro in a nutshell. We will explore it a little bit more in depth over the next few days. Thank you again for joining me for day 88. Please don't forget to join me tomorrow for day 89. And also please don't forget about the online art classes. If you're interested in joining us on webinars, art webinars, then please pop me an inbox message with your email address so that when the registration goes live next week, then I'll give you guys first option to join our online classes. So in the meantime, however, please like and share this video, and I will see you tomorrow. That's what you want to do.